Yeah. Well, I'm
Yeah.
joined by Steve Gregory, saxophonist, instrumentalist on the Danny Sun feature radio show, and it's talking to me about his career. We've mentioned the 60s, 70s, and Careless Whisper. And welcome back to which will be the second part of the interview. We're talking into the 80s now, and are there any favourite 80s songs featuring a saxophone you would have liked to play on? I've got a few on my list here. If you allow me to read out, I've got Englishman in New York, Chant Number One, Smooth Operator, Modern Love, Lily Was Here, and Time of My Life by Dirty Dancing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love Englishman in New York. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, and but I sort of go back to the '60s. My heroes were King Curtis and Fathead Newman, who played with Ray
Mm.
Charles, and Junior Walker. I love those Junior Walker songs, and I think it's because that was the saxophone language which I sort of learnt when I started out, and I think that's why George Michael probably liked what I did, because I was from that era, and this is what George was so good at, wasn't he? He was able to write songs in that sort of
Yeah.
style. He obviously loved Tumblr Motown and the soul. I think that's why George liked what I did, and he was, when he picked my version rather
Yeah.
than somebody
Yeah.
else's.
And into the 80s, who else have you worked with on your extensive CV in the
Well, I
80s?
was with Van. I played with George from about 1974. I was sort of part of Georgie Fame's band for 20 or 30 years on and off, and with Georgie we had a lovely stint with Van Morrison. It was about 1980, 88, 89, I think. It was around the time he did Wherever God Shines His Light, and we had sort of half of Van's band, some Irish guys, and half of Georgie Fame's band, and we sort of had a wonderful time, and we got to play for Herbie Hancock's 50th birthday. We did a cable show in LA, which was great, and I got to meet Herbie Hancock and Freddie Hubbard and Chick Corea and who's the famous guitar player. Oh,
Oh, it's
the
Nile
name's
Rodgers.
gone.
Is it
Anyway,
Nile Rodgers, is it?
no, no, no,
Oh,
no. The big West Coast,
okay.
the blues man. He was.
A BB King?
Oh God, it'll come back. No,
Oh, okay. Oh, well, we'll
no,
come
he's a
back to that
white
one.
man.
Anyway,
No, we had great fun with Van. It was brilliant while it lasted for
yeah,
about 2 or 3 years.
yeah. And
So that was sort of, and I played with Wet, Wet, Wet
yeah,
as well around that time.
I was going to ask what Wet, Wet, Wet songs did you feature on? Played on?
Hold Back the River.
Yeah,
What was that one? So I think it was the second or third album. It was from about 1988, 87, 80.
yeah,
We did a big American tour supporting Elton John and did Madison Square Garden, stuff like that.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Was
that was a lot of fun.
was it around the time of
Mm.
With Little Help from My Friends when that came out?
Yeah, that's
1987.
right. That was when I joined them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they'd done Angel Eyes and Temptation and Sweet Surrender, Wet, Wet, Wet around that time.
Yeah, they used to do all those. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
we used to do all those.
sure.
Yeah.
And into the 90s, you worked with some notable reggae artists and dub poets.
Yeah, well, I played with. I'd known Dennis Bavell, who was quite a famous producer, dub producer,
Yeah,
and I knew him way back in the '70s, and he was sort of musical director for Linton Kwesi Johnson, the famous poet, and so I played with him, and I did an album for him, my album, which hopefully you'll receive one day.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, we used to do a lot of festivals in Europe, and I did his albums, yeah, which was great. We had a lot of fun, yeah.
Lovely. And Bushfire, you worked
And
with Queen.
also, yeah, yes, I knew John way back in the '70s, and when I remember him, he was telling us how he first met Queen, and he'd gone to the audition and all that, and
Mm.
then yeah, we met up again in the '80s when it was, and he managed to get me on to persuade Freddie to have me on one of their albums.
Wow.
So I did 1 Year of Love, which was a lovely song by John. Actually, it was in that film Highlander.
Yeah,
It's a slow song, lovely song, yeah, and which was great. And Freddie was real character, very funny. Yeah.
great.
So I got to meet Freddie.
Lovely. Wow. Not many people can say they've done that. And
Yeah.
you talked about your impressive career. What are you up to now?
Well, I still manage to I still do a bit of teaching locally in a school which I really enjoy. I really look forward to seeing the kids, and yeah, I've had some wonderful kids, and I just feel very blessed. I'm very lucky to have that. That
Yeah.
I still have a part-time job, and I still do a few little gigs. Still have done a few sessions. Even last year, a lady in New York sent me a track to play on, which took me a while, but I managed to do that.
Yeah, great.
Do few little jazz things or charity things
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah. That was good. Keeping busy. I did want to ask, what is a specific name for a tutor which goes into secondary schools? It always slips my mind.
They call them peripatetic teachers.
I
yeah.
see. Yes, thanks for clearing that up. And how important is it for music to be included in the curriculum?
Well, I mean, every so often you see these reports, and they found that kids who do music, it helps your brain hemispheres to work together, doesn't it? It's supposed to improve their mathematics or their language skills. It's only beneficial, isn't it?
Yeah.
Music's just a wonderful thing, and that's why it's so dreadful at this lockdown that the music business has been shut down. It's horrendous, isn't it? It's just shocking. It's shocking. Such a wicked thing, but I don't want to get into politics here.
True. Well, we'll swiftly go on to my next question. And being a musician, how important is it to look after your hearing and be aware of music levels?
Well, yeah, I started having trouble back in the late 80s, and I got very paranoid and started wearing earplugs, and now I'm very careful. I mean, I just when an ambulance goes down the street or a police car, I just cover my ears. I mean, I can't take loud volume, I'm afraid. But I did spend a lot of years, standing next to the drummers or a Leslie organ, So I think you have to be careful. You've really got to be careful, and I think things have got too loud. It's too loud for me. Yeah. I mean, even you go to a wedding or something, or even in a church, and they'll bump up the volume. Yeah. And I think, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Do you know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Or I see people jogging. You see people jogging around the park. And you think you're improving your health. Yeah, but you're probably deafening yourself at the same time.
It's like when people ask me what part of your body do you like the most, I would say my ears, because they're priceless, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm. And on the final question.
Yeah, well, I remember my mother. Yeah, my mother got quite deaf towards the end of her life, and I was very frightened when I started getting problems. Oh gosh, I don't want to end up like my mother. I really want to be careful. I don't want to do loud gigs and things. And I think people get offended, because I go on a gig with some people I haven't met, and I say, "Well, you think you can turn the bass down? Can I stand further away from the drummer?" People don't ask me again.
Yeah, you always get one when you're doing.
I think if you want it.
Yeah, I was about to say, when you're doing a gig, you always get one who says, "Can you turn it down?" And they sat right at the front of the stage. And finally, I wanted to ask, wrap up this great interview. Whenever you're out and about, say in a supermarket, shopping precinct, and you hear a song that you've played on, what's that feeling like? And do you look at the reactions of other people as well when that happens? That scenario.
No, I don't. I have to say, I don't.
That's very modest, Steve. That's very modest. Well, thank you for chatting to me.
No, I just think I've been very lucky. I've really been blessed. I've been so fortunate, and I say I'm just so grateful that my parents did bother to see that I had music lessons and stuff, because that's given me. It means I'm old and I can still. And I think music, you never get to the end of it. There's always something new to learn, something new to hear. You can, and if you try and look after your health, I've met, I used to go to Ronnie Scott's a lot, and I played with Ronnie a couple of times, and so really that's how I learned to play, really, because I dropped out of college, but thanks to Ronnie Scott, I got to hear all the great jazz players, Zoot Sims, Stan Getz, Dexter Gordon, I heard them all just a few feet away in his club. So, and you can see some of those guys. I mean, do you remember Stefan Grappelli, the violinist? I mean, he was in his 80s.
Yeah.
I used to go and see him at Ronnie Scott, and he just seemed to get better and better, and this is something that you can improve, even though you're getting old. You can, with your knowledge and your experience, you can actually improve. Yeah. It might not be easy, but, there are some guys who just seem to manage to get better and better,
Yeah. I don't believe in perfection, because I always say 99% and just that 1% for progression, improvement, room for manoeuvre. Well, that wraps up a great interview, Steve. Thank you so much for reminiscing about your illustrious career, and best of luck, and keep playing that sax, as they say.
Great. Well, it's been a pleasure, Danny. Thank you.
All the best.